Hello, everyone, and welcome to an exciting episode, Return from the Grave of Relating to DevSecOps. That is R2DSO for folks that have not joined us in a while. I'm your host, Ken Toller, and I'm joined again by my wonderful co-host, Mike McCabe, to bring in 2026, the new year, 3 months late, so that we can turn to talking about security. And a lot has happened. A lot has happened, right, Mike? I mean, we are in the we are in the throes of generative AI, agentic AI. It has been kind of a whirlwind in terms of that. And you brought some articles to the table to work through and discuss. And I would love for you to intro sort of what kicked off. Hey, we should start podcasting again to our viewers and listeners.
Yeah, just an excuse to talk to you again. We never chat anymore. That's all it is.
Well,
Yeah,
you're
I mean,
busy.
yes.
You're a busy man. You're a busy man.
This the first 2 months of the year have been a heck of a decade, that's for sure. And
Yeah.
yeah, so obviously there's been a million things talked about AI development, SaaS dying, is software dying, are all companies doomed? There's been all the layoff discussion. Block did layoffs last year. That's been a huge discussion. There's been all the security discussions. Is pen testing done? Is application security, is that solved now? It's been, yeah, there's been an opinion. There's been at least one opinion for every person on the planet, and some people have many. So it's been a really interesting time. Just I personally have been reading a ton, kind of getting different viewpoints, hearing from different people. I don't think anyone has a complete view of where things are going or can predict the future, but it's really interesting to hear what people are thinking and how things are evolving so fast. I mean, things just change at such a rapid pace week after week. And yeah, the way we're working is definitely changing. So wanted to chat about it.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I think that what you've sent me in terms of articles, I mean, if we had to look at this from like a top down, it's basically the big questions, I think, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here, are is AI taking my job as a software developer, as a security engineer, and what are the hot takes on that, and how do we react to that? The other is that, like you said, software is dead. Everybody's creating their own software, and it's like becoming this sort of micro development world where all of the big software, enterprise software, is going away, and so software engineering is going away because AI is taking that over. And the last part is like, how is AI affecting the security paradigm, especially in software development? I think the thing that you had sort of brought up just before this, just before we went live, is like DevSecOps and CI/CD aren't fast enough. We need to be faster. So let's take it top to bottom and start with the first one, which is AI taking over my job? Um, let's just start there. What is your opinion on whether AI is taking over people's jobs, or like will they have a job in 2027, 2028? And
Yeah, I mean, I'm basing, there's been a lot of conversation, and if people are habitually online, they probably saw a few articles that came out in the past few weeks. One was the Citrini Research, which is some financial research shop. They did this whole kind of think piece about, all right, it's a few years in the future, AI is taking over so many more jobs, the economy's bad because there's less consumer spending, all this kind of stuff, and all these different business models don't work anymore. And that was like a big shakeup. The financial news said like that caused a drop in the stock market, but you never know if it's 100% tied to it. And then Citadel put out an article kind of debunking that. Citadel's another big hedge fund, kind of debunking why technology has never, in the past at least, it gets rid of some jobs, but then it creates many more new jobs. And it's I'm no fortune teller. I can't tell the future. It does kind of feel that way. Like, I think people think that AI is going to evolve so quickly that whatever new thing you think you need a human for, it's just going to take over that job. But I think you just keep seeing evidence that like AI is really good. It's incredibly useful, and it keeps screwing up in small ways that you might not be able to resolve, or you might not be able to resolve in a cost-effective way. I'll give you an example. Obviously, we both do a lot of application security. We internally use Claude to generate code. So Claude generates the code. You say, yeah, make sure it's secure. Doesn't always work that way. Then you can use something like SemGrep, or you can use another model like OpenAI to do a security review of the Claude code. So now I've just basically used two different models. I've charged double the tokens to do code generation and code review. And actually, it's pretty interesting how often you find things. And that's still not deterministic to say, like, I have no vulnerabilities after that. So we've been doing a lot of kind of comparisons of what does AI generated code look like out of the box? How do you tweak it to make it better? And then how much does one catch that the other one doesn't catch? And things like that. So, I mean, I don't know. People didn't want to spend money on security tools before. So when the token cost does increase and they're not subsidizing our use like they are right now, are people going to pay triple to have 3 different AIs involved to check the quality and the security of their code while they're putting out thousands of lines of code a day per person? I don't know. It's an open question. I mean, I think history shows that nothing is ever even. Nothing is ever black or white. Things end up in some middle ground usually of some jobs go away and a lot of new jobs pop up. But things are changing. That's for sure.
Yeah. A couple of things in there, I think. I don't know if I agree or disagree, or if it's just a different take, but I do think that, like, what you're saying around like you like, one is, I think your point was like the token cost of you might be able to generate more code faster, but you're paying for tokens to develop the code. You're paying for tokens to evaluate the code. You're relying on these two agents to sort of work off of each other. And is your point that you're spending just as much in generating and evaluating the code as you would in paying like an operator to do this, or is your what is your takeaway from that?
I mean, I think my takeaway is that if you want to get away from paying for security tools because the models are going to do everything for you, I kind of feel like we're getting into a maker checker type of mode where you can't 100% trust the generation of code to be secure. And so you need two different opinions. But right now, tokens are incredibly cheap. Like Claude Max is $200 a month, and you're just generating a crap ton of code through it. Now, the assumption most people make is that's going to change, and the price is going to go up quite a bit. Like, these companies have to become profitable. Maybe they're profitable and they never have to increase the amount of tokens. But I'm saying if we do have to have some kind of maker checker and we're still staying completely AI based, the price is going to go up quite a bit at some point to use all these different tools to do what we're doing now in security. So it's not so much that we're replacing people, it's just we're building workflows that are going to be prohibitively expensive if the token costs start going up. We're all hooked on the first one's free drug dealer model right now. We're all getting that sweet taste of Claude code and crazy API limits, but very likely that will change at some point. Maybe not. Maybe the compute costs go down, but
yeah, I mean, who knows what those models are going to. I think that there's enough competition in the like AI provider market that there are areas where you're going to have these unlimited models with like a cap, and you're going to have token based models, and then you're going to. I think that will sort of, on some level, always be there. I mean, personally, maybe it goes away, but I feel like that would be counterintuitive to like getting people to use this stuff, because as soon as it becomes cost prohibitive to use, then you're like, well, I'll just use people, So I think we're generating code faster, and I think that it's helpful that people can generate code faster. And I think that some of the takeaways in the market have been like, yeah, I can get to my prototype super fast. This is great, and it's like magic. And then once you start introducing the elements of complexity to that, you need people that understand software engineering to guide these models. And the interesting conversations that I have are like from business operators that are saying, I expected Claude Code to know to go to the API documentation and find X, Y, and Z and pull it into the context and understand like how to use this thing and put it together in a cohesive way. And so there's this assumption of intelligence that I think folks have with Claude Code that works really well for simple projects and works very poorly for complex projects. And I think that extends to the security side of things, and it extends to the software development side of things, is that if you don't understand all of the lessons that we've had in software development, you can't properly instruct like one of these LLMs or chatbots to actually develop decent code. And even if you have that experience, sometimes it fails. And I think we said this in the podcast before, if you don't understand the nuance of how it failed, it's very difficult for you to improve and to improve the bot. And I think that we get into this, like, I don't know what the answer is, because it's like you want somebody to learn the fundamentals, but how many fundamentals are enough to like execute well? And I don't know what that threshold is, you know, and I don't know that and I don't know how we get there with these, with LLMs and stuff, because it's just like the amount of noise that we are generating with this, I think dilutes the picture, right? It's like, we're generating so much noise because everybody has like you said, has a taste of how to use this stuff. I don't know if the volume is like necessarily healthy to the overall like use of these tools. And I've seen multiple times. I don't think I've seen one enterprise product that has launched. And when I say enterprise product, I mean like working with customers and clients or working internally to organizations that develop these AI generated apps that don't have like glaring fundamental problems in some way, meaning they've done what you've said. They've generated the code. I want to do this securely. They've had another LLM evaluate this code and say, is this secure or not? And had confidence to say, the LLM said it was good and we're ready to roll, and launch the product. And then a security person comes by and goes, hey, like the API doesn't have any auth on it. Why is that? You know?
Yeah.
And to like have this fundamental miss. And that fundamental miss comes from me saying something like, and this is a real world scenario for me, does this app have authentication? And it looks at the front end and says, yeah, it's got authentication. You're good to go. But never really evaluating the back end. And I think, you know, those mistakes are going to like tank businesses, in my opinion. And I like it's weird because it's like I find these tools valuable to like speed up my workflow and to give me ideas and to help me day to day and use it. And I'm sure there's things that I'm missing. And it's like, when does that become catastrophic? And that's what worries me about this like new way of working is, in order for security to keep up, we have to leverage these tools and figure out ways to use them and figure out ways to enable businesses to use them in a secure way and do this prompt engineering and context engineering and using security tools. And you have pressure from investors and funds to like use more AI, and like, you know, everybody's putting a lot of their eggs into this basket. And my worry is that like we are just full steam ahead on like this snowball that we are like building the plane while flying in a very real sense. And that worries me a lot, because it just, I don't know how to necessarily get a handle on that. And at the same time, I'm super excited about where it's going and what we can use this for. But I do think that like the general perception of the market is just like kind of naive. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's just, when did we lose our ability to like be discerning about some of this stuff? Like, you know, question it a little bit.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's really tough because like there's been plenty of technologies that have been hyped and be like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is going to change everything. And it might have been true to a degree, but never has there been a technology that I can think of where there is like really immediate proof that anyone can buy one of these tools, a $20 subscription, and like start building stuff and be like the executive who built an app to do things. And you're like, wow, this really is magic. And I think the thing is they see the magic for, they just had an idea, they built something. And that's awesome. Like, that's truly innovative. they're not thinking about like everything you said. Well, there's no auth, and use some Terraform or just put your database on the internet, and the password is password one or something. And so there's so many people hyping it up for its magic abilities without thinking about the side effects of it. And those side effects, we learn every lesson the hard way. Like, we never think these things through and be like, all right, what could go wrong? And let's think about how we prevent that. Now it's like, let's go full steam ahead. Yeah, the production database ended up on the internet. Ah, darn. We'll have a gate for that next time. And we're just in that magic space where there's enough proof that there is magic going on that people believe it's like the truly best magic, and it completely understands your intent, and it does everything right all the time. But the people who are actually using these things day in and day out, like, they see that there is magic there, but they also see that they have to guide the magic the right way, or it's really going to shoot you in the foot. So I think we need another 6 months or a year for those stories of people who kind of shot themselves in the foot, or companies who shot themselves in the foot with it, for people to be like, all right, I got to think this through a little bit more than just believing that me and Claude are going to, rebuild Salesforce and do it just as securely as they do it, and do it, as well. I'm not saying this is a data point to prove that generative AI is less reliable, but one thing I do kind of chuckle about is if you look at Anthropic's uptime, like, they are basically become like core infrastructure for so many people, and they're like 98%, which that's not bad if you're running a mom and pop website, but like if you're core infrastructure and everyone is relying on you, like, that's pretty bad. I mean, AWS, I think, does like four or five nines, and 98 is like laughable in enterprise core infrastructure these days. So yeah, I don't know.
Do you think that it's because the effect it has, because like the rubber band effect of it is basically that, like, people are able to work so fast that a couple hours of downtime with these models doesn't measurably affect their ability to produce? Like, yeah. It's like if it goes down for an hour and I'm like, crap, like, I can't 10x my work for an hour, that's not a huge deal. But I think as the expectation sort of raises, that you'll see like that become more catastrophic.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right now, I think it's interesting to, like, something you said to me just now that made me think, and I don't want to lose that thought, and that's why I'm sort of pseudo interrupting you, is that it's almost like people have become, we actually have seen this technology become ubiquitous, where like you have the magic thing, and I was like, oh, like, what about like a phone, like the cell phone, right? Like being able to search anywhere, or like, access anything anywhere at any time. And we've seen this happen, like, nobody remembers directions anymore because we have GPS in everything that we do. We can basically take our device and be anywhere and go anywhere and direct ourselves. But I think you're right. Like, it's always been consumer. Like, it's always been like a very consumer focused idea of like this magic becoming ubiquitous. And maybe there's something to the fact that like everybody is their own business these days. So like you are producing as an individual. And so like this is like blurring that line between the magic of like putting something in the hands of a user. But now this is the first time I think it's affecting organizations at scale, because like all of these collective users using this sort of magic thing can apply it to their day-to-day work, where I think that hasn't happened before, where like the cell phone has become useful to the business. If anything, it's been a detractor from the business. Now it's like this thing, it is becoming useful to the business to be able to use.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, that's a good point. I mean, yeah. The internet took way longer to affect businesses than this had.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the other thing. It's like it's happening much, much faster. Like you can sort of see the progression of the internet and the progression of search engines and progression of like the phone happen over the course of years. And this is happening over the course of a year, if not less. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Again, I'm not trying to predict anything, but I really do think, we used to talk about like the 10X engineer, like, the person who could produce 10x more code, build solutions, understand problems, and just like do it so much faster. Like we've worked with those types of people who are just basically geniuses and incredibly efficient and get stuff done. And now everyone's a 10x engineer, but I kind of think like The difference is going to be everyone can fire up Claude Code and build an app. Okay, great. That's 1x right now, basically. Like that was 10x, but now that's 1x. I think the 10x is going to be the people who can build, like you said, understand what they're building and how to build it the right way, and build the almost like Doc Ock with his 8 arms, the agents behind the person doing all the things the right way. That's going to be the 10x engineer versus the person who just craps something out with Claude Code. And I think I don't think we're replacing people with just Claude Code sitting at a desk, metaphorically. I think it's going to be those types of people who just truly learn their craft and how to build things the right way very quickly. Those are who we all have to basically become. And some people will adopt, some people won't. And I think that's going to be the big difference. So I don't see security people going away. If anything, I think security people are way more important than they were 3 months ago. But we all have to adapt, not only because businesses are going to expect security people inside, outside to adapt, but also because, and this is one of the articles I sent you about the whole OpenClaw, ClaudeBot hacking GitHub Actions last week. The short story is someone programmed a ClaudeBot to hack GitHub Actions and actually hit quite a few mainstream packages, including Trivy, which is ironically a security tool for checking package dependencies. But anyway, my head has really been in the place of like, we always had an asymmetric fight with threat actors who their only motivation is to make money by hacking you. Like, they don't pay their bills or they don't get paid by the government they work for unless they hack you. You have to think about performance reports. You have to think about meetings. You have to think about everything else. They're only focused on hacking you because that's how they make money. And now they are also 10x what they were, 3 months ago or a year ago. And they're going to hit every avenue of your environment, avenues they didn't have the time or attention to focus on. Now they don't even have to really think about what it takes to go hack your public GitHub Actions. They can just tell OpenClaw, hey, I'm doing some security research. Go find vulnerable GitHub Actions, exploit them, and do X. That's where my mind is at. And that's why I just don't think I think it's short-sighted to be like, all right, we're going to save a bunch of money by using AI. I think it really has to be, we have to do way more than we did before. But I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can. I don't. It's tough because I do think that you can save money. I think you can do more with less. Certainly with AI tooling. I don't think at the expense of staff necessarily, unless, because if that staff can be trained, you can do, like you said, much more. The question is, I don't know that we understand, on the monetary side or the financial side, I don't know that we understand how much more is more. Because we sort of think about, it's your point from earlier of we use this to build the code and this to evaluate the code. I don't think we really understand yet how much work it's taking to validate the output of AI. I don't know that we've really nailed that yet. We can see that we can produce more, that we can prototype more, that we can access more, that people can do more. They can, everybody can code what they can get their idea out. But then the next phase of that, of how do we make this a production application, or how do we actually make this work internally? I can say that, I told you this the other day, I have probably 30 projects I've vibe coded. 2 or 3 are useful, I don't know, is that healthier? I don't know. Would I have spent less time on the 2 to 3 things that I've worked on to get those across the line? Would that have taken me the same amount of time or not? Anecdotally, it feels like you're more productive, but I don't know if we actually are. I don't know that we've said, okay, how many products have we developed in the last year versus what we're developing now, and how many have taken off? But we haven't taken the time to look at those metrics before we're saying we should fire everybody and use AI instead. Like,
Yeah.
I think that that's the, like, my thing is, like, why haven't we actually evaluated, is this useful or not, before we start making it useful? Because, or like making it a part of our day to day, because now you're starting to see what the challenges are, right? Like,
Hmm.
products are failing. People are launching things with vulnerabilities. We're being hacked more. We have more bug bounties to deal with. One of the interesting things, like takeaways that I had recently, was we've had more bug bounty submissions in the last 3 months than we have all of last year. So
Yeah.
obviously people are submitting these. They look good. I would imagine that if they want monetary compensation, they're putting them through validation. But I can also say that out of, like, I would just take a number, out of 50 issues that were submitted in January, 2 of them were accepted as valid bugs. So even though we have this validation step happen, people are still submitting false positives that are harder to, like, evaluate effectively, because the LLMs are having trouble and they might have different opinions. So you're like, okay, so how much time am I actually spending on using LLMs to validate false positives versus what I did before? Or does it just feel like I'm doing more work because the submissions look better,
Hmm.
And we haven't really done a lot of that. Like, how many valid submissions have come out of that? Yes, the volume has increased, but is it more valuable? And then how much time is that taking from your security team? If I were to say, let go one of the security people because we have AI to validate these things, who's going to validate them? Somebody still
Hmm.
has to go and run that stuff. So it's like we haven't really taken time to evaluate all the factors, I think.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I mean, again, I think it's really it's short-sighted to think like, all right, we can just save on whatever, developers or security or whatever. But yeah, people definitely have to change their skill sets and adapt. And yeah, I mean, I think the point you're driving at that I agree with is like there's so much more noise than there was 3 months ago, and
Mm-hmm.
it kind of reminds me of like back when you had film cameras, you had like 24 shots, I think, or something like that in a roll, and you really didn't want to waste it because like you had 24 shots, you had to like scroll to the next one, you had to go pay to get it developed, you have no idea if it was good or not. Like you kind of took your time with it because it just cost more each time you took a photograph. And now we take photographs of like everything. I take a photograph of the place I park at the airport when I park my car there because I just don't
Yeah,
want to write
exactly.
it down
Yeah.
somewhere.
Well,
And
you didn't get it developed back in the day. You, like, took a picture, got it developed when you landed, and you're
I'm
like,
not
okay,
that
now I
bougie.
know it.
I'm
Yeah.
not that bougie, but that'd be pretty funny. But yeah, just like my camera is full of noise. Like someone ran so many random photos of just. I mean, it might be good, it might be useless, but yeah, we've created more. More is not always better. One of the articles you shared, the Peerless one, was kind of getting to like one of the main points was we're really early and there's not that many people who've really adopted. But then also like adopting is not the most important thing. It's building things that actually have like taste and are unique and are solving a problem. Like that's still the hard thing. Like I'm not Ansel Adams because I have an amazing camera I can take 10,000 photos of. Like I don't have the taste he had. I don't have the ability to build a photograph the way that he did, and that has not changed with me having a better and better iPhone camera. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a really good point. Yeah. And the other part of that, the other big thing in that, I mean, I think I completely resonate with that point of like, it is the operator of the tool that you are trying, like, you can be more creative and that, like, and find more using the same tool, depending on like what your background is, where you're coming from and how creative you can be. And so I think that's a huge opportunity for generally creative people or orchestrators or strategists to help get their ideas out of the gate. Like one of the most useful things that I've found are like translating things I'm trying to say to somebody that doesn't have a technical background or doesn't have the same background I have, and to try to align with them. And that's been immensely helpful in terms of like communication or like reducing the time it takes to communicate with people. Even if we didn't have all the development stuff to worry about, that's one.
hmm
But the other thing in that article that you were talking about, the Peerless one, is that one, we're early, and two, like the perception of how many people are using AI versus how many people are actually using AI is very stark as well. Like I think it's very easy for us to sit in here and say, hey, like everybody's using this, it's going to take over everyone's job, or potentially like we're talking about these things, but in reality, like we are a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of the people that are actually using these things. It's just that those numbers are still huge. So, do you see evidence of that? Like, are you ever surprised at a client site or something of like, oh, maybe people aren't using this thing, or it's like, oh, I'm surprised that they're not using AI, or have you had any of those moments?
A little bit. I mean, we've had different people say different things, and we have some that are very early and some that are like kind of had the awakening in the past few months and had different challenges security wise now. So, I mean, I think you're still going to see the more regulated, the slower moving companies just take time to adopt these things, and they might kind of do what you and me were saying is like, yes, we want to do this, but let's think about it. Let's unfortunately put it through a lot of red tape and old compliance frameworks, which is a completely different topic. That'd probably be a good podcast too. But so yeah, those are the ones that haven't quite changed nearly as much as some of the startups who are like, oh yeah, I just rewrote our entire app yesterday. That's in production now. Like, yeah, it's very different, and I think it's going to be different for quite some time, which is generally true across the board. But yeah, I mean, I think you're right. Like if you're on LinkedIn, if you're on Twitter, and you're just watching influencers talk to each other all day long about how amazing AI is, like, yeah, you believe that there's going to be like an Elon Musk robot showing up at your house tomorrow to start doing your laundry. But we're just like so far from that in terms of actual consumption across the board. So yeah, if you're in the echo chamber, it feels very, very noisy.
Yeah. And I think that, that's sort of why, like, I think reading some of these articles and just the wide difference of opinion and taste of like how people feel about AI is like generally, I don't know if it's like interesting or sad. I don't know. I kind of want to land on something at the tail end of this of we've talked a lot about how AI affects us personally, what our personal opinion is in using it, whether or not it's going to take over jobs or software, things like that. And I think that generally we agree that it's just like it seems really early to tell. So like all these pundits are like having these very extreme opinions. Mm-hmm. And we're sort of in the weeds of it going, yeah, like some of that stuff just is fundamentally not true, or it seems that like a big leap to make to say that it's going to take over all these things in in the course of a year, when like we are still struggling very hard with things that folks are assuming are active. Like people will say, oh, I can just build my enterprise app on AI and I can just tell it to do that, but like on the ground, we're seeing that that's not actually happening, right? That it takes much more work and more people to actually get something off the ground that start to finish is AI. And so I want to sort of land somewhere of like, what out of this review of things, what do you think is the most concrete takeaway from the articles that you've read that you can sort of say, yeah, I think that's right?
I mean, I think 100% that there is some magic there, and it's going to change the way that we work 100%. Like, there's no denying that. I'm not in the camp of like AI is total bullshit. It's just fancy math. Like, it might be at the core, but it doesn't matter. The result does create some form of magic and does speed things up and does make things easier. And so it is going to change things, and it's going to continue to change things. There's no doubt about that. One of my favorite things from like the financial space is economists have predicted the last 10 of the last 2 recessions. Like they're always predicting doom and gloom, and unfortunately on social media things always do better when it's the negative case, and make people fear for their livelihood. And I don't think that's the way history has really painted any technological revolution. I don't think it's really always been a terrible thing for everyone. Some people it might not be great, but I think we're going to see a lot more of everything. And it's kind of like I don't know. It's almost like digital painting for artists. Now they can have a new canvas every single day to create new art, to do, new designs. Like we're opening up we're opening up technology to people who never touched technology before. So there are going to be so many more interesting ideas out there, so many more different use cases. And I mean, from a security perspective, I can't see them doing it well from the get-go, because we haven't trained anyone to do it completely perfect from the get-go. So I don't know. I kind of gone from the doomer perspective to like, there's just going to be a lot of more of everything. And I think in aggregate, that's going to be good.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be good. In aggregate, I don't know. I've never been the doomer, and I've never been the like AI evangelist. I've had, and I wouldn't even say that I'm even neutral. I just have like, I think I sort of waffle between, oh, this sucks, and oh, this is really fun and really cool. And I don't know, like if I had to put something, I don't think you need to like buy like any of these extreme theories to, like, for the purposes of our podcast, admit that the security problem of these things is here, right? Mm-hmm. Like that it is causing more security issues for us than taking them away. For every AI advancement in security, I think that there is, some equal, if not like in the same vein, security problem that we have to wrestle with. For every, oh, that's an interesting finding that it found, there's a product being launched without auth. Like I think that there's just this, we're not moving in one direction. Like there's a seesaw effect, I think, that we're in the middle of. And so I don't think that, so because of that, I don't think that software is dying. Like I just don't think, I think that the other piece, like one of the articles we read was talking about like how all the stuff we're talking about, software is dead and everything, but like we have a lot of the projects people are working on rely on SaaS or rely on software. It's like, so if I'm making my, super duper, map app, I need like a map API that's already built, and that's going to need to continue to exist because I'm not building everything from scratch. And if we all did that, that would be kind of ridiculous, right? Like if nobody used each other's services, that would be stupid. Like, I mean, and who wants to run that? Like not everybody is running a cluster or like a server farm in their backyard. I think it's kind of ridiculous to think that like people want to run enterprise software out of their home or off of their phones. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe like, compute gets, goes to the edge and we don't need that anymore. But I just think that like we have a security problem that is growing, but the style of it is different. And I don't think that we can take away security people. Our job changes. I just don't fully know how it changes yet because it's like I think we're all just sort of discovering it right now. But I can see that there are like new problems being added that we need to wrestle with, and that doesn't give me confidence that we can take away staff. So I don't believe that people's jobs are going away, and if people are cutting security people, I think that they will be in for a rude awakening. And I feel the same about software engineers. Like I don't think that software engineers' jobs should be going away either. I think, like you said, they need to adapt and sort of understand that their role is changing, but their expertise is still valuable. I would love for like the COBOL expert to see what they can do with COBOL now. I would be excited to see that project. Like, oh, I know COBOL and I know how this thing is going to make a mistake. I would love to see that happen, as opposed like I find more interesting than my mom creating a gym app or something. Which is like, that's what people get excited about. It's like everybody can create their gym app, and I'm like, okay, great. Like, I did that. As like a side project, and I like it, but like that's not going to change the world or like be anything super. Like, who cares? Like, there's hundreds of gym apps already. Like, I don't. It's like, does that really move the needle on like what we should be doing with AI? Like, can't we like cure cancer or something? Like, more effective than like our, latest and greatest personalized, hyper local app. I don't know. I'm so like in the middle of it. I'm constantly sort of waffling back and forth of just like, this is stupid. This is amazing. This is stupid. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, who knows how things will turn out, but I just think I do have some fundamental faith that humans are creative and they love building and they love creating solutions and they love being lazy. And that usually ends up with life getting better. See the dishwasher and the, washer and dryer and the automobile. Like, I think we might find new ways to be even more lazy. At least hopefully. Hopefully we don't just get more busy. That would suck.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it's going to be some churn. It's going to be some up and down. It's not going to be a very certain time for a while, I think. But hopefully in the end, it's going to be just abundance, I guess, is the word I'll go with.
Okay. Abundance. That's big,
Abundance.
man. That's definitely, abundance is definitely in a religion somewhere.
Yeah, probably.
So I think, I'll end with my takeaway, you end with your takeaway. I think that for me, the thing is, I think that this debate is going to be like continually interesting. It's going to continue to sort of spin out. But I truly feel like if we're going to really go whole hog for AI, that we need to treat it just like we treat any other security paradigm, like cautiously, least privilege, a lot of distrust, a lot of validation. And if we can just maintain those fundamentals of like validation and constraint and control, we treat it just like anything else we do in security, I think we'll be okay. But if we sort of remove the blinder, if we remove the rails or we remove some of those guards, I think we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. I think I'll agree with you for my final point. I think my viewpoint or my saying for it is yes, but like, yes, let's use AI, but let's think about how it's going to go wrong. Like, let's
that's so anti, man. It's got to be like yes and. People are going to be like, no, you can't.
Yes,
no
and.
Buts. It's the yes and.
Okay, fine. Yes, and it'll be more positive. I think it was it Simon Sinek? I think someone like had some quote about that. But yeah, I mean, yes, let's do it. Let's think about what the downsides are. But yeah, I mean, like, there's never been a time in my experience where people are more just bought in on like everything's great, everything's going to be great, nothing can go wrong. And yeah, I just wish people would learn the lesson before the hammer kind of came down, but that's the way things are.
Yep, exactly. Well, we had a good long I found, I was interested in the conversation over the course of the last like 40 or so minutes, but hopefully you all made it to the end. And if you did, thank you so much for listening to us ramble on about AI. I'm sure there will be more topics like this as we continue to ramp up our podcasting. I know, Mike, you're saying you want to do this every week, so look out, world. We're going to move back to our, how many episodes per year is that going to be? 48-ish. That's a lot. 52. 48 if we're taking vacations, 52 if we're not,
Exactly. Well, we have to do double time now to make up for January and February. So.
Yep. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. We will be getting some more guests on. We will be talking about more than just AI as we sort of figure out how this all changes the game for DevSecOps and security in general. And again, we really appreciate you all listening and getting back onto the earphones. Earphones? What? Headsets with us. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.